8 time travel stories that changed Star Trek forever. Time travel has always been one of Star Trek's favorite toys in the storytelling sandbox. From the 1960s series to modern spin-offs, warp drives and transporter malfunctions are nothing compared to the chaos unleashed when characters step outside the normal flow of time. What makes these episodes and films special is not just their mind-bending plots, but how they reshape the future of the franchise itself. Some gave us unforgettable character arcs, others became templates for future Trek, and a few even influenced science fiction beyond Starfleet. Here are 8 time travel stories that didn't just entertain fans, but changed Star Trek forever. 1. The City on the Edge of Forever, Star Trek, the original series. If you want to pinpoint the moment Star Trek truly became great, you have to look at the City on the Edge of Forever. Written by Harlan Ellison and heavily rewritten for television, this 1967 classic didn't just showcase time travel, it used it to deliver one of the most tragic love stories in sci-fi. Captain Kirk falls for Edith Keeler, a social worker in 1930s New York. But when McCoy accidentally alters history, Kirk learns Edith must die to preserve the timeline. For the first time, Star Trek showed that time travel wasn't a gimmick, it was a lens for exploring sacrifice, duty, and morality. The episode's impact is still felt today. It set the bar for emotional storytelling in Trek, inspired countless homages across media, and made fans realize that this franchise could balance heady science fiction with heartbreaking humanity. 2. Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home 1986. Who knew a time travel comedy about whales would save Star Trek? By the mid-1980s, the movie franchise had become increasingly dark, culminating in Spock's death, Wrath of Khan, and Resurrection's search for Spock. The fourth film flipped expectations by sending the crew back to 1986 San Francisco to bring humpback whales into the future. But more importantly, this movie secured Star Trek's place in pop culture. Its success showed that audiences loved when Trek experimented, proving the franchise wasn't locked into one tone. Without The Voyage Home, the franchise might not have lasted into the next generation. 3. Yesterday's Enterprise, Star Trek, The Next Generation. If one episode cemented The Next Generation as a worthy successor to the original, it was Yesterday's Enterprise. When the Enterprise C travels forward in time during a Romulan battle, history is altered, creating a war-torn Federation with the Enterprise D as a military vessel. The return of Tasha Yar, who had died early in Season 1, raised the emotional stakes even further. This wasn't just a cool alternate timeline story, it redefined what Star Trek could be. It showed how fragile history is, how small shifts could create vastly different futures, and it gave Tasha Yar a redemption arc that echoed across later seasons and into Star Trek Enterprise. The success of this episode proved TNG could go toe-to-toe with the best of classic Trek. It also opened the door for bolder time travel storytelling across the franchise. 4. Star Trek First Contact 1996. When the Borg got involved in time travel, Star Trek entered blockbuster territory. In First Contact, the Borg attempt to rewrite history by assimilating Earth before the Federation even exists. To stop them, the crew of the Enterprise E travels back to the 21st century to ensure Zefram Cochrane makes his historic warp flight. This film changed Star Trek forever in 2 ways. First, it gave the Borg their scariest outing yet, cementing them as one of the greatest sci-fi villains. Second, it tied time travel to the origin of the Federation itself. By dramatizing First Contact between humans and Vulcans, the movie gave the franchise a definitive mythic beginning, making the future feel more grounded and real. It remains one of the most beloved Trek films, blending action, character drama, and franchise-defining lore. Without it, the Star Trek mythos would feel incomplete. 5. Trials and Tribulations, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. While most time travel stories in Star Trek are dramatic, Deep Space Nine's Trials and Tribulations was a love letter to fans. In this 1996 episode, Sisko and his crew travel back to the events of the classic TOS episode The Trouble with Tribbles, digitally inserting DS9 actors into 1960s footage. The result was both hilarious and groundbreaking. Not only did it celebrate Star Trek's 30th anniversary, but it also showed how time travel could bridge generations of Trek storytelling. It was the first real crossover between casts and proved the franchise could honor its past while still telling new stories. Trials and Tribulations also pioneered digital compositing in television, a technique that made possible the kind of inter-series crossovers fans enjoy today. It set the stage for Star Trek, Strange New Worlds, and other modern experiments with nostalgia. 6. Timeless Star Trek, Voyager. For years, Voyager was criticized as the black sheep of the franchise, but when it swung big, it could rival the best of Trek. Timeless is the ultimate example. Set in an alternate future, Chakotay and Harry Kim live with the guilt of causing Voyager's destruction during a failed slipstream drive experiment. 15 years later, they risk everything to send a message back in time to undo their mistake. This wasn't just a great time travel tale, it was an emotional powerhouse. It gave Harry Kim often overlooked his best character episode, featured a heartbreaking cameo from an older, bitter Geordi LaForge, and showed the crew's bond across timelines. Timeless became one of Voyager's defining hours, cementing it as a series capable of unforgettable drama. It's also a rare example of Trek tackling survivors' guilt through time travel, making it deeply personal. 7. Carbon Creek Star Trek, Enterprise. Unlike most time travel episodes, Enterprise's Carbon Creek wasn't about paradoxes or alternate futures. Instead, it told a charming, almost whimsical story of how Vulcans accidentally landed in small-town Pennsylvania during the 1950s. Topple recounts how her ancestor lived among humans long before official first contact, even working odd jobs and falling in love. The story blurred the line between myth and history, raising the possibility that humanity's path to the stars was nudged earlier than we thought. This episode changed Trek forever by reframing the Federation's origin story. It suggested a deeper interconnection between humans and Vulcans long before Zefram Cochrane's warp flight, adding richness to the canon. More importantly, it showed how Trek could do time travel without high stakes. Sometimes it's about quiet character drama. 8. Star Trek 2009, The Kelvin Timeline. The boldest use of time travel in Star Trek wasn't an episode, but J.J. Abrams' 2009 reboot film. Instead of just reimagining Kirk and Spock, the movie used time travel to create a branching timeline. When a Romulan ship from the future destroyed the USS Kelvin, killing Kirk's father, it split canon in two, the Prime timeline fans already knew, and the new Kelvin timeline where anything could happen. This move changed Star Trek forever. It allowed the franchise to recast its iconic characters without erasing decades of continuity, giving new fans a jumping-on point while still honoring longtime viewers. While divisive, it revitalized Star Trek for a new generation, ensuring its survival into the 2010s and beyond. The Kelvin timeline proved that time travel wasn't just a story device, it could reshape